This is an absolute must-watch love story. One of those films you need to see in your lifetime. Released 21 years ago, it still holds an impressive rating of 8.4 from over 400,000 viewers, with half of the audience giving it a perfect score. Netizens exclaim that this movie is the pinnacle of romance films. One summer day in 1968, a young girl named Juhi visits her grandfather in the countryside. While walking down a narrow path through the fields, she encounters Junha, who's busy catching fish. Seeing the youthful beauty of Juhi, Junha can't tear his gaze away. He nervously waves at her, surprised when she politely waves back, which makes him instantly excited. Being her first time in the countryside, Juhi is curious about everything around her. She asks this slightly goofy boy to take her on an adventure to the village's haunted house. Overwhelmed with excitement, Junha agrees. The next day, they row a small boat to the haunted house. Junha, however, turns out to be quite the coward. He's so frightened by the haunted house that he ends up abandoning Juhi and running off alone. Their thrilling adventure fills the air with laughter and brings them closer together. But when they're ready to return, they find it has started to rain heavily, and their boat has been swept to the center of the river. With no other choice, they find a place to shelter from the rain. Soon, Juhi slips, twisting her ankle, and Junha, strong and resolute, picks her up and carries her. They find a small shed for cover, where Junha wrings out his shirt to help Juhi dry off, even sneaking a watermelon to quench her thirst. Under the rainbow that follows the rain, they begin to feel the first stirrings of love. That evening, Junha carries Juhi along the path until they reach a wooden bridge lit up by fireflies. The glowing lights resemble a starry sky, and Juhi gazes at them in wonder. Seeing her fascination, Junha catches a firefly for her, and Juhi's face lights up with a smile of pure happiness. But beautiful moments are fleeting. Her grandfather waits for her on the riverbank, having waited a long time, and Juhi knows she might not see Junha again. She removes her necklace and gives it to him as a keepsake. Her grandfather orders her back, giving Junha a harsh slap across the face. The next day, Juhi falls ill and is sent back to the city, and they never see each other again. After summer vacation, Junha returns to school. Known for his poetic talents, he often helps classmates write letters. One day, his best friend Tae-soo asks him to write a letter to his fiancée. When Junha sees the photograph, he's stunned. Tae-soo's fiancée is none other than the girl he's longed for, Juhi. Heartbroken, Junha buries his sorrow and writes his love for her in the letter, signing it with Tae-soo's name. Tae-soo soon receives Juhi's reply, inviting him to see her perform over the weekend. Grateful for Junha's help, Tae-soo takes him along to the theater. When Juhi appears on stage, Junha stands up in excitement but is quickly pulled back down by a classmate. Watching Juhi perform, Junha's gaze softens with tenderness. After the performance, he wants to give her flowers, but Juhi is already leaving with her family. They can only exchange a distant, lingering glance, expressing their unspoken yearning. Junha sits alone in the theater, disheartened, when suddenly Juhi reappears. Elated, Junha rushes toward her. They gaze into each other's eyes, making every bit of waiting worthwhile. He gives her the flowers, asks about her ankle, and exchanges a few words before she must leave again. Before she goes, she tells him that the firefly he gave her is still safe. In that moment, both understand each other's feelings, with everything said in silence. One night, Tae-soo brings Junha to a dance, where they unexpectedly meet Juhi. Juhi realizes that Junha is her fiancé's best friend, and they must pretend not to know each other, exchanging secret whispers and longing glances as they dance. Every shared glance is precious, and as the dance ends, Tae-soo takes her home. Juhi feels slightly disappointed to leave without a private moment with Junha. As she's about to ring the doorbell, she notices Junha standing under a streetlight, waiting for her. Unable to restrain herself, she runs into his arms. Over time, Tae-soo falls for Juhi and confesses his love to her. Juhi, caught off guard, is at a loss. She doesn't want to hurt Tae-soo, nor does she want to destroy the bond between him and Junha. She decides to break things off with Junha in the pouring rain, but she can't go far before returning to him, realizing she can't let him go. To be with her, Junha confesses everything to Tae-soo and even asks him to hit him if it helps. Tae-soo, however, is calm, having already figured everything out. He chooses to step aside, letting Junha and Juhi write to each other in his name, so their families won't know. For a while, Junha and Juhi exchange letters, growing closer with every message. However, one letter is mistakenly returned to Tae-soo's family, exposing their secret. To protect his friends, Tae-soo lies to his father, saying he never liked Joo-hee and asking him to cancel the engagement. Furious, Tae-soo's father beats him, as the family has sacrificed much to secure this marriage. Torn between his family's honor and his best friend's happiness, Tae-soo attempts suicide, but Junha finds him in time to save him. Guilt-ridden, Junha realizes he should let go. Leaving the necklace with Joo-hee, he disappears from her life. Soon after, war breaks out and Junha enlists. Learning of this, Joo-hee rushes to the station, banging on the window, tears streaming down her face. Junha struggles with his emotions but turns away, fearing he'll break down. As the train slowly departs, Joo-hee runs alongside, and Junha can no longer resist, running toward her. Facing the uncertainty of the battlefield, this may be their last meeting. Joo-hee gives him the necklace as a blessing and a promise of her love. The horrors of war surpass Junha's expectations. During one retreat, he loses the necklace and risks his life to retrieve it, only to be blinded by an explosion on his way back. After the war, they agree to meet at a restaurant. Joo-hee arrives early, waiting just as Junha once did. She tearfully watches her lost love, and they chat as if nothing has changed. Over the years, Joo-hee has waited, but Junha tells her he's already married. She's devastated by this revelation after so many years of waiting. To ease the tension, he mentions the piano doll on the table next to them, recalling her love of music. Joo-hee glances over, realizing it's not there, it was taken by a child moments before. Suddenly understanding, she waves her hand in front of his eyes, discovering he can't see. Heartbroken, she asks why he lied, knowing now he can't even see her tears. Overcome, Junha rushes to leave, aimlessly wandering, and returns the necklace to Joo-hee as a final farewell. But Joo-hee places it around his neck again, telling him it will always belong to him. Under family pressure, Joo-hee marries Tae-soo. In her wedding photo, her eyes brim with tears, whose meaning only she knows. Years later, Joo-hee often takes her daughter, Ji-hae, to the river where she met Junha. One day, a group of Junha's comrades arrive, carrying his ashes. His last wish was to have them scattered in the river where he met Joo-hee, the place of his happiest memories. They reveal that he married after her wedding and passed away soon after. Joo-hee weeps, realizing he never forgot her. 20 years later, Ji-hae is now a young woman. She discovers her mother's love story and finds herself in a similar situation, having fallen for the popular Sang-min, her best friend, who is more outgoing. Asks Ji-hae to write letters to him on her behalf. Just like Junha, Ji-hae pours her own feelings into each letter. Moved by the letters, Sang-min starts dating her friend, but Ji-hae notices him glancing at her often. One rainy day, they're stuck under a tree together. Knowing she needs to go to the library, Sang-min shields her from the rain with his jacket. Later, she hears that he actually had an umbrella that day, which he deliberately left behind to create a chance meeting. Overjoyed, she takes his umbrella and runs to him, drenched, at the drama club. Finally, the two lovers come together, and Ji-hae brings him to the river her mother used to visit. She shares her mother's story, and Sang-min, eyes full of emotion, places a necklace around her neck, a keepsake from his father. Sang-min is revealed to be Junha's son. The love story of the previous generation finally finds resolution in this one. In a place filled with fireflies, Sang-min catches one and gives it to Ji-hae, just as Junha once did for Joo-hee. The fireflies' gentle glow fills the night as they kiss, sealing a love story that spans generations, as though fate itself ensured that this love would one day find fulfillment.